What's up, guys? Jeremy Conn here. It is the Lowdown with Pickdawgz. Make sure you're checking out pickdawgz.com. Hit the like, subscribe button. That does help us out. And also hit the notification button. It lets you know every time a podcast is posted. So for me, I finally had like that bad day that you don't want to have. I got a little unfortunate. What was this? Going back to Thursday now. Where I had the over in the Fever game and Caitlin Clark gets scratched late, and there's no way to change it because you put your plays out early and then the total starts dropping. They had a great second half, terrible first half. So even with the big number that I had, it looked good in the second half. But if you saw the first half, you knew it wasn't going over. And I had 3 baseball games with really good hitting situation and nobody hit. And even with that, even with the collar that I got, the 0-4 on Thursday, I'm still above 60%. So hopefully we continue this on. Look, bad days happen. I'm trying to get better at not dwelling on it because, like, I'm one of these guys that if I went 4-1, the first thing I want to talk about is the loss and what went wrong. But yeah, you're going to have days like it. And I hate saying it's baseball, but sometimes it's just that. It's a weird sport. Crazy things happen. And whether it's umpire inflicted, weather inflicted, I do a lot of weather stuff here. You guys hear me talk about it all the time. But there is umpire data out there too. I think I pointed it out in another podcast, but like you can find out which umpires have a tight strike zone, which ones don't, which ones miss a lot of calls, things like that. I also think there's an added benefit. I use a lot of Swish analytics, but there's a lot of benefit to looking up stolen bases. That's another added bonus for a team that can run. And it you learn a little bit about some of these starting pitchers and which ones don't hold runners on. So if there's a game where I see a pitcher that doesn't hold runners on and I think it's going to be a high scoring game or it has a chance to be, I'll be all over it. So I think there's a lot of different things that could factor in that people can use to try to give them an edge. It doesn't mean everything's going to work. I mean, like I said, if those games from Thursday were today, I'd still bet them just because they were really good spots. You just had a couple pitchers that pitched way above board. We see that happen from time to time. So, let's get into these 4 games. There's some interesting stuff here, I think. And again, I told you guys I'm going to start mixing it up because there's different pitchers that I want to talk about. And being who I am and being in sports talk radio, I got to follow pretty much everything. So I stay on top of a lot of this stuff. And the fact that I'm playing daily fantasy every day, it's another one of those things where you're learning more and more about players. You're seeing when the guys get called up, which pitchers are back from injury beforehand, and then you got to look and see whether or not is he on a pitch count and all those things. So I do think it's an advantage to me to be able, because of what I do and playing daily fantasy, that I can look at all these players. And I know quite a bit about them. Doesn't mean I'm always going to be right because I could be talking about a pitcher in your city that you live in and you're like, what's he talking about? Send a message. Tell me I'm wrong. I'll go back and do my research again in case I got something wrong. Just like I posted on the podcast from yesterday, I had the wrong pitching matchup for the Angels game. Still felt the same about it, but had the wrong pitching matchup. Let's get into this. Start off with the Tampa Bay Rays and the Baltimore Orioles. It's very humid here in Baltimore. You'll hear me talk about them a lot. And in talking about how humid it is, the wind's out about 5 miles an hour, so there's not much help there. It does feel like it's in the high 90s, and it's Zach Liddell versus Zach Eflin. I've been talking about Eflin. He had his worst start of his of his Oriole tenure in Tampa Bay, and it was like 100 degrees out there. It's going to be hot again. I don't know if heat is something that gets to him, but his ERA ballooned over 5, and he was in the 3s not that long ago. His last 3 starts have been questionable at best, and I think you can look at some of these spots. I would I'm still going to tell you to take the over here just because of the conditions and what we have, even though I think Eflin's going to pitch better. But I do think the over is a very interesting play. And like I've said, guys, I'm going to try to be better at responding and writing some stuff if things change on game day with the podcast. You might see me post some messages in there. During football season, I don't have to worry about this because this is going to be cool. Like, doing this podcast and how early I do it during football season, man, I can really get into anything I want. I mean, I'm going to break down every game, tell you what I see. I use a lot of stuff from Pro Football Focus as well. I like some of the matchup stuff. I use more of that for daily fantasy, if I'm being brutally honest. But it does apply. I mean, I think a lot of this stuff correlates together. So just something to think about. But during football season, I can literally cut the slate down each day and still talk about some college football games. And then when basketball starts, get into that, or hockey. Plenty of stuff we can do, which I think is going to be a better product because I'm going to be more on a lot of those things. I hope that makes sense. Because a lot of times as we're talking about this stuff, things change in a day. I do think the information's solid that I'm giving out. Weather can change, obviously. But, when we're talking about these pitchers, I think you could learn, I could learn something too, but learn a lot about some of these guys and maybe some of their faults and things that they're good at. So we go to the Blue Jays and Red Sox, so we're staying in the AL East. 9 miles an hour out, light rain, mid-70s. Lucas Giolito and Chris Bassett. Chris Bassett is one of those guys that there's nothing special about him. He calls his own game. I think he's sending the signals to the catcher. He throws about 6 or 7 different pitches. But when he gets hit hard. And I know this Red Sox team strikes out a ton. Lucas Giolito on the other side, he had one really good start not that long ago, but I think he is what you see. I mean, if you look at his numbers, he's a guy that's going to have an ERA in the mid-4s to above. He's going to hit some bats. He'll have a couple of games where he gets strikeouts. This was a guy that with the Nats could not find himself, gets traded for Adam Eaton, and then all of a sudden that 5-run ERA went way down, and he looked like a dominant pitcher. And he was for a couple of years, and now not so much. I mean, the Red Sox kicked the tires on him and Walker Buehler to see what they have. I would lean over in this spot. I do think even with, it's not as hot as you would like, I think both of these teams will be able to swing the bats against two guys that hit a lot of bats personally. Let's go to the Dodgers and Royals. It's humid, 90 degrees. The wind's blowing about 8 miles an hour out. It's Shohei Ohtani and Seth Lugo. I have no concerns about the Dodgers hitting Seth Lugo. This Dodgers lineup, I mean, you're probably not going to have concerns many times with the Dodgers lineup coming in and them scoring runs. It's with the Royals here, and they've been up and down. Like, they had a couple of really good spots this week. I was all over the overs in those spots, and the games went under, and it wasn't even close. And as you look at, Ohtani pitching, you don't know how long he's going to go. I mean, he's given up a run. I think in the first start he went out. Last start it was an inning. I think he put a couple guys on base. I just don't. You can't, it's going to be a bullpen game from the Dodgers. So with my thought process, if you're worried about a bullpen game from the Dodgers, then stay away from this or go under. I would lean over the total here because I think with the weather helping out, with the fact that you're not going to get a ton of Ohtani and he's still working through some stuff, I like the over here as a play. Now, this is going to be my free play. We go to the Cardinals and Guardians. We got the wind blowing in at about 8 miles an hour towards first base, so that'll kind of give you an idea. There is a chance if the wind switches and let's say left-handers are hitting it down that right field line, if it flows that way, that balls could end up going out down that side. That's not what I'm expecting at all. What I expect in this game is you get that steady wind. It's 80 degrees there, and I feel like with the two pitchers, Miles Mikolas and Slade Ciccone, it's funny because I look at both. These guys were guys that I would target for overs a lot. And I'm not, when I say target, everything has to match up. It's not like, oh, that guy's pitching, I'm taking the over. I have to have certain things match up for me to jump on a play. I try to limit myself as much as I can because I think the more you're betting with the juice and with everything else, there's a greater chance of losing money and then the house getting a hold of you. Now, with Ciccone, he's pitched great so far this year. ERA in the 3s. Miles Mikolas. I don't know why I like calling him Mikolas. Another guy that doesn't strike out a ton, hits a bunch of bats, but gets those ground balls, gets soft contact. I think they both do a really good job of it. I'm going to take the under as my free play with the Cardinals and Guardians. Again, this is something where the wind's going to help us. The weather supports it, but I do think this is a really good spot to go against the bats in this one, that the pitchers actually have a better game. So I'll be back tomorrow with another podcast, guys. Check out all the premium plays going on. I usually put up a 3-pack every day. I put up some of my favorite plays, the weather play of the day. And I'll try to denote, like I'll make mentions of, hey, this is my favorite play. This is what I'm looking for. Because Friday I had a ton. There was a ton that I liked. But with that being said, make sure you're checking out. You can pair me up with one of the cappers if you want, or try the other guys out. I think we got a lot of great things going on over at Pickdawgz. So definitely check it out, pickdawgz.com. Appreciate you guys. You can also follow me on social media. I give it out at JConnSports, at CONN. Just in case you have questions about a play that I put out, or if you have questions about anything I said, I'm pretty good about getting back to you and answering those questions. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.